Channel. The Car Guy Channel. My name is Mike Hennessy. This show is all about cars and all four car guys. Get yourself a cold beer. Get yourself a cold beer, guys, because our show is... We are smoking! I'm Mike Hennessy, and you're watching the Car Guy Channel. I have an auto repair shop. I've been in the business for over 30 years. You name it, we got it, we built it, we've done it, we do it. We love this car stuff, and I hope you guys do too. We're gonna have a lot of fun, got a lot of stuff cooking, so just stay tuned. Welcome to the Car Guy Channel. We got some cars in the show that are absolutely spectacular. And the cars in the show today are for some good friends and some good customers of Hennessy's Automotive and, of course, the Car Guy Channel. Some people send their pictures in, which is kind of neat. And check this picture here out. This picture here came from a very good loyal watcher and a customer. But I really appreciate the picture coming in, so we got to show everybody at home what type of stuff comes in. We got some cars on the show that I think are really going to blow you out of the water. This one particular car is probably, and a statement to make, is one of the best in the world. And I kind of look at it that way. This car is fantastic. Paula sends the car down, gets some service work done on it because she wants to enjoy the car for the summertime. And then I got a good customer we call the Big Jim. This car is absolutely spectacular. So there's a couple things you do. Don't touch that dial. Get yourself a cold one and sit back and enjoy the show.
I'll be planning out a route we're gonna take real soon. We're waxing down our circles. We can't wait for June.
We were on the hunt for a car in the 30s. We went ahead and found a 1934. We didn't go find the car. This car found me. My shop, we do a lot of work in a lot of different ranges of all types of cars. We get a phone call, we get an email. Can we work on a 1934 custom street rod? We get a call from a gal named Pamela, and the story is just fantastic. And you know, car guys and car gals, stories mean a lot. And that's what this automobile industry is all about. Pamela gives me a call. Talk about her car, and she told me that she had some medical issues she was kind of dealing with, and when she comes out in the garage and her husband fires up the car, it put a smile on her face. I got goosebumps hearing the story. Got the car over to the shop, get some service work, get some stuff done on it, and I gotta show you all about this car. For the vintage cars, 1934 is my favorite year. It always has been as a kid. Saw them going down the road, people fixing up street rod originals, you kind of name it. 34, for some reason, has always stuck to me. I always liked the V8. 1932 was the very first year the V8 was ever produced by Ford. They had some problems with those V8s, oil consumption and a few other issues, and they were pretty much taken care of by the year 1934 with the new body style. I say this all the time on the show, and I think Edsel Ford sometimes might not get all the credit that he deserves with the automobile industry and the design of a lot of cars. He went ahead and put the swoop in the grill, lowered the windshields down quite a bit, and made the car body style absolutely an overnight success. You car guys might not believe this or not, but Chevrolet would outsell Ford for many years until 1934, when this car here was completely taken care of. As far as any of the glitches, any of the notches were taken out, this motor here ran and ran good. There's a few things about this vintage of a motor and these type of cars. Henry Ford gets a letter from Bonnie and Clyde, and he said, Mr. Ford, you make the best car in the world because we can get away because we have a souped up V8. Kind of a neat story out there about history. Check out a lot of Edsel Ford history and check out the Ford history on the 1934. I'm going to cover a few little points for you, and I hope you learned something today. Now let's talk about this street rod. This car is absolutely spectacular. I use that word on the show quite a bit. Awesome, fantastic, whatever. This right here is best of the best of its breed. This is a very high-end, high-quality car. When we have this car at our shop, we have a whole complete area completely sterilized to have this type of automobile in there. We're going to cover some of the stuff from the front bumper to the back bumper and a little bit underneath the car. But I want to talk about this quite a bit. This right here is a full-blown street rod. This car has amenities that covers everything for comfortability for today's standards in a very, very high quality. It's a hand-built, custom-built car. The color of the car, I say all the time, I wish we had a camera that could really get the luster of this. This is done in a very, very retro and a vintage, very, very dark, I would say dark to medium, dark green, with the beautiful striping on the side, kind of a tan striping on the side all the way around the car. Now these have what you call exposed headlights. They bolt right to the fenders. And when you put this car here together, these have to be done right. The person who built this car, the designer who built it, keep in mind, every single one of these are hand built. There's a little bit of difference around every single one of these cars. The mounting holes where they need to go, how the buckets go in. So when you order a part for one, keep in mind, when you're ordering a part from one of these, you got to really know what you're doing. Figure out what type of part goes kudos for that car, because figure they're using aftermarket parts, some original parts, and of course some of the upgraded, all the new stuff. And you got to figure out what year the part came from and where it was when you can work on it. But look at the bumpers. They did not even stop at chrome plating the bumpers. And this is triple plate chrome. You can tell by looking on the back side of the bumper. But you see the brackets? All chrome plated also. There's so many issues in this car that show the attention to detail. We all know wheels are a taste issue. There really is no wrong or right, long as they're safe and you can steer and they don't rub the fenders or whatnot, a taste issue. But whoever designed these wheels and whoever put them on this car have excellent taste, I feel, because I love them. Now these right here are Boyd's wheel. These were a full, complete billet aluminum wheel, Boyd's cut, and it has the Haldebrand type look with the Haldebrand type spinners on it. No black walls, all black walls, no raised white letter tires. Has a great touch and a nice feel. If you notice, the front ones are smaller than the back and gives this car that good, sleek, low look. You gotta love this grille. Look at these long flutes all the way from the top to the bottom, and they still have these on the front. Henry Ford was not a guy for a lot of change. Henry Ford, if he still had his way, there would not be any electric starters, and then we'd still be driving the Model T, and you have the crank to crank these over. That's what these openings are really designed for, so when the crank would go in there, and that's how you used to start the cars. But when they went ahead and put a V8 in them, they have the emblem on here for the V8, and the synonymous Ford emblem. They kept the same emblem and the same design for many, many years. And of course, the racing chrome-plated Greyhound. Now back then, they did not have the turn signals designed inside the headlights. Now some of the cars, some of these retro cars, street rod cars, there's actually a kit out there that actually can put the turn signal right inside the very top of the headlight. They did this here in a really tastefully way done. They come right off of the cowl. These right here are the turn signals to the car. I think it's a really spectacular way to put them on. They're nice and chrome. They look good into the cowl. We went ahead and replaced them on this car. They're a little bit challenging to get in because we had to make some changes from the original design, and it came out really, really nice. Now you're going to notice the flutes on the side of this car. Now different models and different types of cars had different designs. Of course, Chevrolet had their own style on it, Buick had theirs. Ford went ahead and kept these all the way on because earlier cars did have a running warm problem. They had an oil consumption problem, and they figured, well, for the V8s, this is really a good way to go ahead and get the air out of the car really quite a bit. It kept the air in here, it kind of kept the cab a little bit warm, and they took issues to go ahead and take care of that. As like any other manufacturer nowadays, you build a model, you got to make some changes to go ahead and, I don't know, fine-tune it, and this is what they did to fine-tune this. Now let's get to underneath the hood of this car. I don't want to say they're simple to open the hood on them, but you got to be very, very careful. On these little levers here, you just push them down. They're spring-loaded. You push them down, and that's what unhooks the back, and that's what will unhook the front so we can open it up. Now, when you're working on a car like this high quality, concourse quality car, you're talking the high end of high end. When you open up the hoods, like I was just demonstrating, you're going to see this little corner tab on the headlights. You got to be extremely careful when you do open it, because that, of course, was probably one of the negative areas of building and designing the car, if the headlights are mounted more forward or more out. But that's how they went ahead and did it back in the 30s. So this corner right here to hit and touches for opening and closing, it's something people at our shop, and of course Pamela, she's going to make sure that that does not ever touch the side of this by checking the oil and checking a few amenities on the car. Same thing with the back here. But to keep this here in the air is a holder on the bottom here. Take a look at it. Check this here out. You can lift the hood, has a hinge on it, but that right there is the holder to keep this hood open so you can check the oil and do some servicing. And you do know, and I'm hoping you at home do this, attention to detail in this car. There was not one area of this car here that did not have an attention to detail. You can actually see that the alternator was completely taken apart and painted to the same color as the car. Chrome plated all the screws, and it chrome plated the tabs of the stator on the middle of the alternator, and billet pulleys on the front. It's a single pulley that goes all the way around. These valve covers are highly polished, and inside the valve covers are painted to the same color as the car. You can see the fluted area on top of the plenum cover for the fuel injection on this 5.0 liter motor, and it's painted to match the color of the car. Again, attention to detail. This car does not end anywhere. It's beautiful. Steering shaft, got a chrome steering shaft, and again, rack and pinion steering. And I got to tell you one thing, you got to take a look underneath the front end and rear end of this car.
too. Bushy, bushy blonde hairdo. Surfing USA.
Talk about the amenities from home. Believe it or not, this car here has air conditioning. It's vintage air. Here's the air compressor here on the front, and like I said earlier, it has a single belt, a single serpentine belt, which is right here. Goes around the power steering pump, around the water pump, and around the alternator. Now keep in mind, just because this car here was built with high quality and pretty much you name it with the best of best in it, they still need to be serviced. And when Pamela brought the car in for us, basically changing some spark plugs, cap and rotor, we had a little bit of distributor things, we needed to take the distributor out and service that. And because the gear was getting worn on the bottom, it's just because sometimes these cars here sit, they don't really get all the oil they need in the right spots all the time. They need to be started and lubricated really quite a bit. Some of these street rods, that's what you kind of got to do to them. When you see some of these heavy show cars, that's part of the gig of owning them. It's part of the charm of these cars. They need to be serviced. When you get items on this car that are custom built, hand built, and this is hand built and custom built for this car, so you really want to make sure you take care of all the servicing that is needed on the car. If you do it yourself or have a shop like mine, service this stuff, they all need to be done. Again, the attention to detail in this car is absolutely just spectacular, and it's just amazing to see that they went through all the painstaking ways to get this done. All of them are stainless steel, highly polished, and some are chrome plated bolts with the Allen head on the head of them. Most of them are stainless steel and polished. That means you'll never have a rust issue or anything like that. You're going to see them all around everywhere in the car. When you noticed underneath the car, you're going to see that's what has the fenders goes together. That's how the running boards go together on the frame, and you're going to see them everywhere throughout the car. This shows they knew exactly what they were doing, and there was a plan designed in this car. So it really turned out absolutely beautiful, and I applaud the person for attention to detail. You know the old nickname called suicide doors in cars like these, but believe it or not, this right here was Edsel Ford's idea to have the door open from the front side. 1934 was the first year, the first make and model of Ford to go ahead and have this work. Now I'm going to hold the mic down here because these locks are bear claw locks, high quality. This is high polished, and these are so easy to open, so you can tell the lady owns it because if she has fingernails, you'll never ever scratch one. I know these mirrors look cool, but when you drive the car, it's really not the biggest of the best, but they look great on the car. So car guys and car gals, there's a kind of there's an element of coolness. This looks cool. Reality is they're really a tough mirror to see out of. Now, let's check out the interior of this car. When I opened the door to this car, you were going to see the finest interior I've ever seen in a 1934 Ford. Take a look at the leather panels on this. These are all custom, they're all handmade, and this right here is done in pure 100% high quality tan leather. They look absolutely beautiful, tastefully done with the stitching and how they press this mold right in here. This car has power windows, power door locks, and all bear claw opening. Take a look inside these seats. These seats, again, are that high-quality leather. It's kind of a tuck-and-roll type theme on it, and they're done so tastefully done. I've seen people put welting along the edges of the seats. I just don't think this car would need that at all because this looks so spectacular. Seats are all adjustable for front and rear. They lean, they tilt, the fronts go forward so people can get in the back seat. This is spectacularly done inside. Headliner is absolutely beautiful and all done in the same material. You can see the simplicity of inside the car. They have all analog gauges, which I really like. I like to see dials. I think it's very retro. The same with the early retro type numbering system on the speedometer and the tach and the volts and the water temperature and of course your oil pressure and your fuel gauge. Everything in this car here works excellent. The wiring in the car was custom made by the owner originally who built the car. So everybody has their own style of how they wire a car. That was a little challenging for us to go ahead and kind of decipher really exactly what he did. Steering wheel, again, it's just leather around this Boyd wheel. Now, Boyd Coddington, of course, was a very famous street rodder builder in his day, and Boyd did a great job on a lot of stuff, and he was an innovator and brought a lot of stuff to the street rod world, able to get parts for people who build cars like this was a thanks going to Boyd's Coddington. A car with close quarters like this car here has, you gotta have the tilt steering. Now, a cab this small, this car will cool off really quick, and it does have a custom vintage air system in the car. And of course, very, very user-friendly. Right on the dash, you got 3 knobs. Everything's user-friendly on this car. Wiper washer, which you'd probably never use. But these are knobs and gauges that you can go ahead and get on aftermarket catalogs and from companies who sell parts to build these cars. Headlight switch, pretty obvious what that is. And you got 3 vents. You got one in the center, you got one on the left, and you got one on the right. Now, because of close quarters, I like to see how deep this is. Well, there's not too much that fits in there. Registration and maybe a pair of gloves. But remember, you got air conditioning under here. There's not a lot of room, so you got to really admire the designer and the builders who custom build these cars to put amenities in there like air conditioning, power steering, big V8s, fuel injection, automatic transmissions, all the stuff that takes to make this car here an excellent driver. You got an easy-to-operate emergency brake right here in the very center. And you got the center console covered in leather. This right here, you got the billet piece with the chrome shaft coming out for the automatic transmission. Very tastefully done. I think gives the car a lot of look. I always love the double French stitching on the sides of these. There's so many ways to put them in, but you can see the person who did this knew what they were doing. Being clever when you build these cars is what this is all about. Where would you put a stereo system? Like, where would you put the air conditioning? A lot of things you got to really think about. You got a little room on the headliner. This box here is obviously a custom-made box. They put the CD player in here. You put a switch over right here on this side for the gas cap. That's how you open up the gas cap in the back of the car so you can get to it. I'm telling you, this is just spectacular, and the headliner done in the tweed, and it's trimmed out. I'm telling you, I just absolutely love this car. There's a feature on this car that I have to explain to you that I really like a lot. Being people who like to entertain and like to go somewhere, they go to Hot August Nights, they go to all sorts of events all through the state of California, and they have a good buddy of theirs that has a car of the same caliber, great friend, good guy, just a great car collector. And but we looked at the back seat of this car, which you could actually take, so you could take 4 people with you. But you can actually see in the back seat of the car does have a little bit of a ladies' touch. To show you the high level of quality that they put into this car and the thought pattern of design, you see the 4 brass bumps you're going to see on the side of the car. Those are actually connectors for the power windows, the power door locks, and of course lights in the car when you go ahead and open up the doors. And you can have the same thing on the inside of the door jamb on the inside, so when they touch together, you got lights to come on when the doors open, and you have door locks, and you have all the things you need to do without wire cable. Very good thought pattern, high quality, and I really, really respect the guy who did this. The quality level of the paintwork is absolutely superb. Now, this is an older restoration. You're going to see, probably a little bit of road rash here and there, but I mean, it is very minor if you do have to point it out. And you're going to see a little bit of patina on some of the paint because when it was done, probably back in I would have to say probably in the 2005, maybe 2006, I'm just guessing on. I don't know the history of the builder, but I can see the history of the quality of what was done. In the earlier years, this right here actually had a drip rail. It would come up and the water would kind of run off. This has been molded on over and kind of comes out a little bit to keep the water off the outside of the car. All the welting in the car is just, I mean, I'm telling you guys, this is a spectacular car. Rubber around here, the pins are all chrome plated. If you notice, you got 3 hinges. The bottom hinge is taller, obviously, than the most, and this is a straight lineup. So when the door opens, it's absolutely straight. Yes, believe it or not, these are running boards, and these are functional running boards. This does help you get in and out of the car. It's covered with a real high-quality vinyl-type material, and is ribbed so you don't slip or anything on it. And I'm telling you, it really gives the whole look to the car. Running boards kind of went away after quite a few years after this car. You won't see anything in the 40s that actually had running boards. Of course, Lincoln Continental was one of the few cars that had one model that still had a look-alike with the running boards on it when it went to the Lincoln and then versus the Continental. And again, a lot of those were Edsel Ford's designs. I'm telling you, there's a nice stream all the way through here to the back of the car, and the separate fender that comes all the way over, and it's just spectacular. Ingenious ideas are what I love to see in a lot of cars. If you guys got a vintage car and you're building a straight rod, there's a lot of books and a lot of history, and the internet can really help you out an awful lot. And plus, go to all the car shows. Hot San Jose Nights, Hot August Nights, there's a lot of great shows. Dream Machines we help put on also. We give you some ideas what to do, and of course, things on the Car Guy channel. When you see a little door like this built into the car, they actually had a tube coming out in the fender area to go ahead and put the gas in the car. The gas tank is hidden way in the back underneath the rear seat of this car where the battery is. And this here's how you, little switch up there, opens up the door, fill the gas. Very ingenious, designed into the car. the back of the car. This is one of those cars down the road. It looks just as good coming as it does going. Oh, the roundness, the lines, I'm telling you, it is just really, really just beautiful. But again, some of the things that weren't really a big deal back then, they stressed safety to some degrees. Remember, they didn't have seat belts. They weren't mandatory in cars until the 60s, believe it or not. It was an option in the 50s. These cars never heard of things like that. But the taillight lenses and stuff are very small, this big around on the back of the car. And of course, it does have the purple light in the center. We'll go over those one of these days, have a lot of fun with it. And they're kind of small. But one of the most ingenious things that they did when they did the gas cap door for the third light, it's actually molded into the back of the body. And I'm telling you, put your finger on it and you can't even tell it's there. This is where the quality really comes into on building a very high-end and a high-quality street rod. Plus, it's being professionally built. A lot of guys at home can do this type of quality work. Our shop can do this quality work. But buying it out there, this was a really hard find to find. And I'm telling you, when they found it, I don't think they questioned them. And they bought the car the way it is. And it looks absolutely beautiful all the way around. Has all the amenities of the 1934. Even the license plate mounts right on top of here with the license plate light. So you can see the plate on the car. Chrome bumper brackets. Like I said, this car here looks good going and coming. So back in the 30s, there was a couple advertisements out there, and sometimes it's not always about driving, it's about arriving. But you guys know what you're doing. That's kind of a neat feature, really.
We try and help the other guys that don't know as much about what's going on, kind of help them to learn more about it, and that's what it's all about. It's learning.
What do you say when a guy says, no, I was at so-and-so auto parts, and the idiot didn't know his butt from first base, and, and then he comes over here, and I guess that's kind of what your guys' claim to fame, though, really, isn't it?
Somewhat, yeah. We, they just haven't worked here, so they don't know.
Well, you guys are finally tapping into the speed market. They're tapping into the custom market, right?
Yeah.
Like all the stuff you guys, you got gauges, you got stuff, you're tapped. I know it's a little bit of everything, electric water pumps. So since you're kind of in the hot rod theme, so I know you're handling some flathead stuff.
Yeah, we got a few little things. We got some heads, we got an intake.
How did you talk them into flathead stuff?
Well, it's been tough. It's been about 8 years coming, so.
So I had a feeling that you had a little something to do with the flathead stuff.
Just a bit. Trying to get some of that stuff, just to let people know what we can get. I mean, if we have a variety, somebody might, say, hey, you guys stock flathead stuff. How about something for a nail head or, whatever.
How many customers really like my shop are out there? My shop we build the street rod stuff, the custom stuff we build. How many guys out there are like me?
Not too many. They're getting less and less every day.
You're trying to say we're trying to dinosauric, huh?
Yeah, kind of. But I'm trying to bring it back. We're trying to bring it back.
Cool. Hey, we're going to do that. Hey, let's get the rest of the store, guys. Rock and roll.
Cool.
Hey, thanks, bud.
All right.
It's that time of year again. The second Friday of every single year in July is National Collector Car Appreciation Day. Car Guy Channel and all you guys out there, I know, support this holiday because these people here do a lot for automotive industry that we do. Check out all the cars. We celebrate it by going to Capitol Drive-In for graffiti night with special cars, cool stuff, neat stuff, high stuff, low stuff. Get anything out there that you got. If it's a collector car, we appreciate it. Get it out there because it's National Collector Car Appreciation Day. Get your car out there and let's have some fun. You guys, you've got to get a ride in an Olds 442 someday because they're absolutely spectacular drive. They're a big body car. Now keep in mind, an Olds 442 is actually a Cutlass. It's a Cutlass Supreme car. In the earlier year when they first came out, Olds 442 was only an option. It was not really listed as the Oldsmobile 442 as an actual breed of car to sell. It was an option. When Oldsmobile 442 came out, the meaning of the 442 originally meant 4-barrel carburetor, 4-speed car, and 2 meant the dual exhaust. Now, in 1967, like this car, they still kept the same word, Olds 442, because it was a huge, and I mean mega huge seller. So when 442 came out, they said, you know what, we're still going to leave the numbers the same because these models here have a 400 engine. So they left it at a 400 with a 4-speed and dual exhaust. Now, the carburetor thing got dropped because I'm going to tell you why. Kind of the pretty neat part is because when this car was designed in 1967, they had a tri-power setup. 3 carburetors were involved on some of these cars. That gave you a lot of poop, a lot of horsepower, and they ran absolutely spectacular. That's a little bit of the story about the wording of Olds 442. This particular car is a loaded, and I mean a loaded automobile, let alone being the convertible, the 4-speed, the Olds 442, and all the stuff underneath the hood. But guys and gals, look at the louvered hood on this car. Absolutely spectacular, mint condition, and you just don't see that every day. Let's get to the muscle underneath the hood here, you guys. This right here is definitely a 400 Oldsmobile motor. Now, this is a custom-built engine. The valve covers are not original. They are replacement because they have to have a high valve cover because, and I know you're going to guess, because it does have roller tip rockers. Roller tip rockers, the big beefy ones on the top, gives this thing here a lot of power, a lot of punch. Now, because this car has a lot of added electrical options, figure the good high-end stereo system and whatnot, we actually have a single-wire alternator, and this is a high-output alternator. It's a 120 amp alternator to be able to give the juice that it takes to operate this car. But I'm telling you, as you're looking around, you're going to notice this twin snorkel air cleaner. It's absolutely the holy grail to the car. Underneath the hood, when you open the hood of the car and see this, it is just, without a doubt, it makes this automobile really cool under the hood. With the power steering, you got power brakes, disc brakes on the front of the car. I'm telling you, underneath the hood of this car, spectacular is what was done on this. This car was actually built and made to be a driver. Look at the front end of this car. It is absolutely just deco for the year 1967. But when they had made the twin headlights, you got your high beam here, your low beam here, and they put the turn signal in the center. So they made this kind of wide. It's a pretty big body car, so I think it's a pretty good design to go ahead and make this completely a wide front end. And of course, 442 emblem. But this car has tilt steering, and believe it or not, tilt steering in these years were really not that common to get, and that was an option someone had to really think about and get, and I think they're great. If someone's real short or someone's a little bit on the tall side, get a little room for the seating on it, being bucket seats with tilt steering, it doesn't get much better for options for an Oldsmobile 442. But this is not your standard 4-speed transmission in this car. This right here is a Tremec 6-speed. This car drives so spectacular. And the way it shifts, I'm telling you, if you guys get a chance to get a 6-speed transmission put in your car, you can buy them. They're a little pricey, expensive. But Jim said he wanted it right, and that's what he did. This looks and drives absolutely really, really cool. And he got 6 forward gears. Some of the neat things about the cars for the 50s and the 60s, of course, they were very, very proud of their automobile, and they had their name all over it, and they made sure that you could see it. And what advertising could you ever get if you're behind this car to see the letters Oldsmobile across the back? And, of course, with the CS for the Cutlass Supreme and see the Olds 442. They were proud of the automobiles back there, and I'll tell you, anybody that ever gets a ride or gets a chance to own an Olds 442, you'd be proud of that car, too. I really hope you enjoyed the show. There's a lot of stuff in this car guy world that really excites me, and cars that are on the show really excited me to be on the show to show you and show everybody else what these cars are all about. This is what we get up for. That's what the Car Guy channel and the car world is all about. If you guys have the means of building these, getting into these, seeing them at the shows, shake these people's hands. A lot of work goes into building them and collecting them and keeping them up. Say hello, say hi, stop and talk to them, because believe me, they'll talk to you all day long. Hey, God bless you and live life well, and we'll see you next week on the Car Guy channel.
Inside, outside, everybody's gone surfing, surfing USA.